Hi, I'm John with Generations Family Ministry, and I'm here with my parents today on Mother's Day to interview them on how they raised three crazy boys to be godly young men. So, let's start with you, Dad. Just tell us a little bit about your family. How many kids do you have?
We have three boys, and just Mom and I, right?
And where did you raise your family?
In Castro Valley, California, so in the Bay Area.
And were you raised in a Christian family?
I was raised in a Catholic home. My mom was a devout Catholic and very involved in the Catholic Church, as was her family. My father was nothing. He never went to church except for baptisms and when he was forced to, weddings.
And how did you come to Christ?
So I came to Christ in the military in 1972. Right after I got married, I got shipped out early back to Vietnam, and I was teasing guys on the ship that basically were Christians and reading Bible and finding contradictory scriptures, at least what I thought was contradictory. And God convinced me or convicted me, and basically I accepted Christ. And I think it was around June or July of 1972.
And looking back on your life, do you ever see God's guiding hand on you before you were saved?
Yeah, He saved me. I mean, many times I should have not lived. So.
And Mom, were you raised in a Christian family?
Sorta. I was raised in the Salvation Army, and then when I was 17, I went to live with my Sunday school teacher's family, and pretty much from then I was raised in the Christian home.
And your mom died at an early age, didn't she?
My mother died when I was 6 years old in a car accident. We were all, there was 7 kids, and we were all involved in the car accident, and she died. And then my dad had, 7 kids to take care of, and we pretty much traveled and picked beans and worked in the fields until I was 12 years old.
And then you went to go live with your grandma.
And then I lived with my grandmother, and she was a very faithful Christian. Read her Bible every night, never said a bad word to us, never really reprimanded us if we did something wrong, and yeah.
And when did you become a Christian?
I probably when I was 6 years old, when I was still, when my mom was still alive. And then, not saying I walked with the Lord all the time, but after I went to live with my foster family, I pretty much tried to stay with the Lord.
And what was the most trying time you guys had while raising children?
Probably a time when our oldest son got leukemia, and weren't sure what the outcome was going to be in those days. The drugs were all experimental, and just wondering why God would put us through all that. And but it turned out well. I mean, God revealed Himself to us, and realized that there was a ministry there at the hospital. The children were there, and our son did well, and he recovered and is now married with 3 children.
And I know you guys raised three good boys, because I'm one of them. And so I was just wondering, what do you think the trick is to raising boys? Because I know a lot of people struggle with that.
I think number one, they have to respect you, and as parents, they're not your best friend; they're your children. So they should have a fear and reverence of you, and then I think you should live your life as you profess that you're a Christian. Do things and do things for people to be a Christian example.
So I know there's a difference between fear for your life, and fear out of reverence. And how did you distinguish the two while raising kids?
Well, I don't know. I think fear is just like you fear God because He's just an awesome God, but I think that there has to be some amount of reverence and fear for your parents in order for the children to respect you. I mean, they become your friends when they get older and get married and have lives of their own. But when they're younger, they need your protection, and you don't want them to fear you because you're afraid of you, but you want them to fear you because they know there's a consequence if they do something wrong. And most of the time, it's like, you don't want your kids running out in the street, so they should have fear of you. There's a consequence, and you got caught running out in the street.
Yeah.
Now, I can remember my entire life. I mean, I still want to be like you. And there's a lot of people who, as they're growing up, they lose that desire. How did you maintain and keep that?
A lot of prayer. And so I think stay in the Word, stay involved in church and church activities, and involve your kids in with the good youth groups and be involved with that youth group. Be involved in church activities so that your children see you and respect you for what you're doing, and that they know that God's real to you.
Yeah. And I remember a lot. You didn't dictate who our friends were, but you definitely guys kind of encourage us to, make good quality friends. And how did you distinguish the two?
I think one of the things is having your friends over to the house, to our house, and watching what you did with them and guiding you to make sure. Because I know you had one friend, Ross, who really led you astray a couple of times, and so we pretty much kept you away from him and brought him, if you ever wanted to run around with him, we made sure it was at our house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we definitely had the house that people wanted to come to growing up. So, is there anything that you guys did as a couple specifically to make your children stronger?
I think we always agreed on the discipline and other things. And we didn't argue. We never really fought or showed that we did not love each other deeply. And so I think the greatest thing you can do for your children is to love your spouse.
So I also know growing up that, especially you, Dad, you took time and you catered to each of our wants and desires. Like me personally, not neither of my brothers, but you took me out and you got me certified scuba diving. You kind of did special things with each of us. Was that something you did intentionally?
Yeah, because basically each kid is different. Each child, right, has different desires and wants, and so you try to do things with that one child to know that they're special, and help them to grow up and be a godly man.
And is there any piece of advice that you would give to people raising their children now?
Yeah, I'd say probably the best advice I have you is stop listening to all the garbage you see on TV and everything else. Is that we're not all equal. We're not all the same. You can't basically give everybody a reward for just being there, right? Encourage them to do well, and encourage them in the things that they have a passion for to move on and really excel.
I think also watching what they watch and what they read and keep them on the right track.
And get them involved in a great youth program.
Yes.
I mean, it's really important to have a good youth program.
Yeah, I can remember being we were at the church anytime the church was open. Anytime there was an event, we were volunteer at it.
Yes.
So this kind of just reminds me of in Proverbs in chapter 1 verse 8 and 9 it says, "My son, hear the instructions from your father, and do not forsake the law of your mother, for they will be a graceful ornament on your head and chains about your neck." Now I just remember my parents growing up. They didn't berate us or belittle us, but they lived out and showed us who we want to be, what we would want to be for life. They gave us a good work ethic, and they gave us a good desire to seek after the good things in life, and not take the easy way out. And I thank them for that, and thank you for that, Mom, on Mother's Day, and Dad. And this is John from Generous Family Ministry. I just invite you guys to like us on Facebook, to like and follow us on YouTube, and to sign up for our newsletter. And the link's below. Thanks a lot.